We're talking today with Chris Kamps of Byron Center, Michigan. The interviewer is James Smither of the Grand Valley State University Veterans History Project. All right, Chris, let's begin at the beginning. Where and when were you born?
All right, good morning, James. Born 1983 in South Korea, adopted when I was around 2 years old, and raised for the first part childhood in Georgia, and came up with the family to Grand Rapids around 13.
Okay, and what was your family doing for a living when you were a kid?
Stuff. I don't talk about that.
Okay, all right, John, that's fine. All right, and then where did you go to high school?
Locally here at South Christian.
Okay, and then when did you graduate?
In 2002.
Okay, and what did you do after you got, actually before we get to that, okay, so you're in high school when 9/11 happens.
Yep.
What do you remember about that?
It's a good question. I think I was in a math class, and some other students knew that I saw it on TV and noted about it. No, it's nothing huge and significant to the degree that, you know, busy in high school, but for the impact of what it was interesting, yeah.
Now, did they stop your school day that day, or did you just keep going?
Just kept going.
Okay, there's a lot of places shut down, but not South Christian. Okay, all right, so you just sort of kept going. All right, now, so you graduate then the following year in 2002. And what do you do after you get out of high school, that is?
I thought I was interested in something very different than what I ended up doing. Went to art school in Santa Monica, initially for game art and design. But it ended up stopping that after about half a year, and came back to Grand Rapids, did community college for a while, and a bunch of random jobs, UPS, GNC, and just various jobs.
All right, and then at some point you wind up going into the military. So when and how does that happen?
Related to a friend from some of the other jobs, my old buddy Dave. He and I, let's see, was it UPS in GNC, or maybe it wasn't GNC. We ended up at Quiznos, and then he wanted to check out the Army, and that was a pretty good idea too.
Okay, so you just kind of went along with him. All right, and then so what makes you decide to actually join the Army?
Definitely was super bored doing some basic classes, and I guess at that time in life, just not in a good direction. The Army seemed like a good thing to do. Recruiter was honest, and I liked that. He said, if you're going to kick in doors, it's going to suck. You can do these other jobs and support the guys who kick in the doors. I decided the kicking in the doors part was more fun.
All right. Okay. Now, so had you done kind of military-style video games and stuff when you were like in high school? Because you talked about going into game design or something when you started college.
I guess some. I mean, yeah, first-person shooters kind of thing. Definitely interesting now if I were to play those games after having like the hands-on experience, and some of them are pretty neat because they get some stuff pretty close and fairly realistic nowadays.
Yeah, but that wasn't really any kind of primary motivating factor. You just wanted to do something different, and this looked like what you might want to try. Okay. So when do you actually enlist?
I don't remember the exact day I raised my hand, but ended up in basic, going out into basic at the end of April in 2006.
Okay. Now, in the years before that, did you pay much attention to what was happening in places like Iraq or the Middle East? You just focused on yourself?
Not too significantly.
Okay. All right. And so where do you go for basic training?
With all the rest of them at that time to Fort Benning.
All right. And when you go down to Fort Benning, what kind of reception do you get when you arrive?
Got there, it was nighttime, off of the buses, and it wasn't, I actually don't fully remember if I would unpack it all. It wasn't too jarring. I guess just the entire experience for basic, for most people, is just an extreme transition from whatever everyone used to do into Yeah, the indoctrination for military.
Okay. And what kind of processing do they do when you first get there? What are the first few days like?
Um, I don't remember the exact days and timing, but there's a lot of medical stuff and a lot of um, vaccinations and other things. I guess after you finish waiting in the standby 30th AG unit, then you got your fun stuff and get pushed out into a basic training unit. For me, it was Alpha 258.
Okay. So that's going to be that's a company-sized unit. Okay. So it would be Alpha Company, 2nd Battalion, 58, whatever. But, okay. And so about how many people were in that training unit, do you think?
I don't remember because we're also I should remember the exact way, but there's like a complex next to a bunch of other companies, so you're all kind of connected. I just remember it was really hot.
Okay.
It's summertime.
Okay, so you're getting it's just Georgia in the summer.
Yeah.
All right. And then what kind of physical training do you get?
All of it. Just the regular Army PT type of stuff. Get to do uncountable number of push-ups and sit-ups and squats, lunges, and then any mixed up variety of those at any time of the day,
Okay.
Especially at the beginning.
Okay, and then running?
Yeah, and then lots of running. I wasn't super great at running, so kind of like just a mid-group runner. I was more of a sprinter in high school.
All right. Do you get any weapons training in basic?
You do go through like the initial how-to, and you get scored and trained on how to use the basic weapons.
Okay. And what were they using as basic weapons there?
For just the regular rifle is the M16A4, so nice and long with tons of extra metal aluminum railing on it. But it made it easier for when you did switch over to the M4 later, or in the next unit.
Okay. And how much discipline was there? Or what kind of discipline?
I think there could have been more. Just a good amount of discipline. Had a nice ability to be able to shut up and stand still for a very long time, which did end up helping out in some parts of their career.
What did they do with people when they screwed up?
Usually it's not just one for that setting. It's learning to work more as a group, and one mistake's everyone's mistake. So if someone's getting smoked doing extra PT with the push-ups and so on, then it'll most likely be everybody.
Okay.
So then the whole group will encourage that everyone's going to be doing the correct thing.
Okay. Did you have people who quit or left or were bounced out over the course of training?
We had at least one dude. He was pretty cool. He's a gigantic dude. I think he was from Chicago, and he only lasted maybe the first phase because he didn't want to listen to the drill sergeants. So.
Okay, so it wasn't for him. Did anybody get hurt? Break anything?
So one guy who ended up pitching his baby in fire ants. That was so he had to go get some urgent medicine on that. I don't think there was anything broken for our group.
All right. And so most of the people who started the basic actually finished it? Okay. And how long did the basic training last?
Was it like 13 weeks or so?
Could be. All right. And then once you complete basic, now what happens?
There's a handful of us that went through basic together, start to finish, ended up getting stationed and getting orders for bomb holder Germany. We weren't super sure what we would be doing or exactly what unit you'd get filtered into, but we knew it was Germany, so that was interesting.
Okay. And how do they get you to Germany?
I remember take a short, I don't know if I was like a week of essentially vacation, and then you get your flight over processed and land into Germany, and
Okay, so you just
Yeah,
flew.
it's a long
You
time
just
ago.
flew commercial.
Yeah, for that one.
All right, and then describe Baumholder. What's that place like? What does it look like? What's around it?
When the small group of us arrived, it was actually pretty empty because most of the units, at least that we were going into, were stationed in Iraq at the time and had been there for a while.
Okay, and so what unit were you joining?
We were going into Alpha Company 1-6.
Okay, so 1st Battalion, and that's 6th Regiment. Now, was that an infantry unit?
Yeah, all infantry.
Okay, and what division were they part of?
The 1st Armored Division.
All right, so armored divisions have infantry, for those of you who don't know that, but yeah, okay, because you need the people, that boots on the ground as well as the tanks or vehicles
Yeah,
too.
so it's armored infantry at the time for Bradley fighting vehicles for the mounted parts of the platoon, and then the dismount, the light infantry side of it, that got the free ride in the back, yeah, which was nice.
All right, okay, and so while you were, how long did you have to wait for the unit to come back?
We didn't. We ended up going to join them,
Okay.
Reinforcing slots that opened up. They ended up sending a dozen of us down. For the group that I came from basic with, they sent us and a few other people from other units to do the individual readiness training over on the east side of Germany.
Okay.
And that was a handful of weeks.
Okay, and what did that consist of?
Nothing even that I remember significantly, just basic, slightly more, or just newer or different infantry type skills and regular, well, not looking back, just like some regular learning how to do some stuff a little bit better or
Okay.
what to expect.
Okay, was any of it in settings that might resemble what you would encounter in Iraq, or was it just generic?
I don't remember, it's probably generic.
Okay.
I'm assuming they did a great job.
Well, you're still here.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So that you said that was like about a week.
I think it was 2 weeks. It wasn't too
Okay.
long.
All right. So you do that, and then how do they get you to Iraq?
Don't. We got flown down, and I don't remember. Because just thinking about all the different trips, like if it was semi. I don't even remember.
Do you think
I don't wanna
do you
just
think
make
you
it up.
stopped somewhere in the Middle East before going?
Oh
to
yeah,
Iraq?
I mean, yeah, you go to Kuwait first, and
Okay.
that's just to acclimatize for a few weeks, and
Okay.
it always sucks because it's like extreme weather.
All right. So you spent a little bit of time in Kuwait there first, and what are you doing during that time?
Mostly just waiting around and doing some PT. Just twiddling your thumbs.
Okay. So there's not
Sweating
really
it
any
out.
training going on per se.
Nothing significant. No.
Okay. You just get used to the weather and whatever.
Yeah, moving your bags around.
Okay. And then when they want to get you to Iraq, how do they get you there?
If I remember, it was by helicopter, and then I don't remember what the interim fobs or camps were, but then you end up getting a ride over.
Okay. And what camp or base do you go to? What's your destination?
I don't remember. It was a cop hit, and then from there going in to, I can't remember exact what we were. It was the one in the railroad station.
Okay. So when you say cop hit, what first of all, what is a cop?
The combat outpost.
Okay. And hit, that's the name of the place in Iraq that it's near?
Yeah, or it's in.
Yeah, because there's a town in Iraq called Hit. All right. And then from there, but then you go to a smaller outpost, which is where your company is going to be based?
Yeah, they're on the edge.
Okay. All right. And that outpost that you're going out to, can you describe that for us? What does it look like?
So it was an old blown out train station, which I think they've renovated probably by now. So it was on the southern part of the town, train station, kind of like a belt around the bottom of the town.
Mm-hmm.
So part of the train station was between the railway tracks and the town, and then there was another section on the other side of the railroad tracks out towards the open desert. Initially, there's like the sleeping barracks around the town part of the railroad tracks, the northern part, with tons of sandbags and a lot of built-up stuff. And we ended up having to pretty much move everything out of that because of the amount of mortars that hit it, and move to the southern part on the other side of the railroad tracks.
Okay, so was the mortar fire coming from the town, or was it coming out from the desert?
From the town, randomly.
Okay. Now, what was your unit's mission there? What was the purpose of being there?
I don't know.
Well, once you got there, what did you start doing?
Counter mortars and small kill teams, and looking for people to kill.
All right. And did you get much business?
A lot of people got more business, but yeah, there's enough.
Okay.
And it's a lot of nighttime walking too.
All right. Did you have night vision equipment?
Yeah, for.
And how well did that work?
It worked well enough, but if lights were on in the town, you would get flooded in your night vision, so it would kind of go useless for a little bit, or it's hard to see between a large glare of lights and then what's in front of you, so you get a trip on a lot of stuff.
Okay.
That was like probably because being brand new to using that kind of thing frequently, and then you get better at being able to walk throughout.
Okay. When you joined the unit, did any of the people who had been there already look after you or give you any advice? Or they just say, follow us and do what we do?
Yeah, both. Or for my squad, I don't remember if it was Alpha or Bravo, but got some good training from the E4s, from Yale and Hill at the time.
Doing an interview like this is just, what was it actually like to be like out there?
I guess if that were to be more of the, to explain and some of the interesting stuff, so being infantry in those areas, I've never, I think even through my whole time, only had one female medic in one of the later units. It's all males, so so being on the COP, there's only males. So the urinals were like tubes that went into the ground at an angle and so you just piss into a tube.
That's another Vietnam tradition.
So, which does kind of make sense sanitation-wise, but it's kind of funny when you take a picture of 6 tubes lined up there and try to explain to people that that's for taking a piss.
All right. And you were mentioning you get hot shower at lunch. I mean, so there is a mess hall there, or do you wind up eating a lot of MREs and things?
Both, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I guess it's field chow, so it's not worth complaining about because at least you get it. So.
Okay. All right. Yeah, and where do you sleep?
For that, we were lucky to be like inside of the building, at least the train station bits.
Okay.
And then fabricated bunk beds and such.
Okay, so you have some kind of shelter and you're not necessarily in tents.
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't want to be just in the tent and
All right.
be torn apart.
And most of the time, are you just led by a sergeant, a squad leader, something like that, or do you have officers with you?
Both.
Okay.
Like sometimes we have like the platoon leader. Our PL at the time was also new, so he did come out quite often with us. Usually it was just a squad level thing, unless there was something larger than maybe more units attached.
Okay. So let's move. So you're there 5 months. Now, do you go back to Germany after that?
Yeah.
Okay. And once you're back in Germany, what happens?
It was really nice because you're not in Iraq anymore, and you go back and see the unit as a whole because the base bomb holder was it felt relatively empty during Rear D when you initially got there.
Yeah.
We were waiting to go join the unit. So it was kind of more exciting to be returning with the larger group. And then there's time where you're cycling back and checking up on all the equipment, all this stuff, and eventually getting into the garrison tempo of waking up for PT and all that stuff.
Okay, so you do shift back to kind of life on an Army base.
But yeah,
and then with
so that's
that
kind of like when it, yeah, more traditional feeling of garrison army stuff. But it was all focused because the rotation would come up again. But so we did a few, went to the field, some field training exercises out in the east part of Germany. I guess I got to do the combat lifesaver course, like to learn how to do a little bit of medical stuff. And I did get the chance towards, must have been early November, to do designated marksman, squad designated marksman course. I went with a guy from my company, and that was pretty fun. It was a week long with the President's 100, learning how to use the just regular M16 to do 300 to 600. So that was pretty neat, learning how to shoot in different positions and use your body to steady yourself.
Okay. Now, when you were in the field or back, what weapon did you normally carry when you were in Iraq on that first tour? What would you have?
M4, yeah.
And the M4 is
basically a shorter M16.
Okay. But you're not using the equivalent of an AR-15 or something like that?
I mean, I guess for military side, it's super similar, other than if you were to handle them both, you could do pretty much the same thing, except for a little bit higher cycle, like a 3-round burst for the military side.
Okay. All right. But you're basically, at this point, a rifleman rather than carrying some other more specialized weapon.
Yeah, I guess being new, it made sense. Even thinking back, that's what I would do.
Okay. All right. So how long is the stretch in Germany?
Must have been probably a tiny bit over a year.
Okay.
Because and I was they did host a MTT sniper school, so I was able to go with my buddy from the squad designated marksman course, and we had the chance to try out for a sniper section, and by getting pushed through the sniper school they were hosting for the battalion. And I liked that. It was interesting to learn some new stuff.
Okay.
And
so does your, over the course of that year, do you get promoted? Does your job shift at all from what you were to begin with?
yeah, I think, I don't even remember when I was.
Okay.
Still just doing low grunt stuff.
Okay, so you're still doing grunt stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now, that year, is there a sequence of what the unit does? I mean, talking about sort of cycling through. You come back from Iraq, you do certain things, and then do you do different things as you prepare to go back again?
I don't even remember the location, but there was sometimes training where you'd have to I think I remember just being like cement buildings. We have I guess local actors would play as representing Iraqi civilian population, so you'd have interactions where you'd take over a pretend city in Germany during the middle of the winter when it's literally snowing on you, and it would help the different scenarios and stuff to go through that.
Oh, okay. So they're trying to train you, give you different skills or knowledge to go back to Iraq with, or how to deal with civilians, because you hadn't had that before you went out the first time.
Because that was, it was the whole unit itself, the platoons and the companies. So yeah, that was a little bit more, it's different than the initial very short training they had before they kicked us down there.
Okay. So over the course of that year or so in Germany now, do you get to go off base and travel around at all, or do you just stay there?
Yeah, I liked that. Usually had more time on the weekends, go with some buddies. And for that, you'd catch a taxi, and I don't even remember. It wasn't too much when you had like 3 or 4 dudes.
Yeah.
And then you go to a train station that was maybe 20, 30 minutes away. And then from there, because it's Europe and Germany, it's all connected really well.
Mm-hmm.
So you could see all the different cities and towns, and got to see all the different breweries, which is cool. So I do like German beer still.
Yeah.
Because of that.
Okay. And in general, when you're out there in the civilian population, how do the people treat you? Or
I think they're used to it, especially depending on what area you're in. They know that there's a lot of American soldiers, and also we have shaved heads or military haircuts.
Mm-hmm.
And
so you stand out in a
we
crowd.
stand out anyways, yeah.
All right. I don't know, were there problems with soldiers getting drunk and making trouble in the towns, or as far as you can tell, they're mostly behaved?
Yeah, I'll say that they're mostly behaved.
Okay. All right. And then, so when you enlisted originally, how long did you enlist for?
I wanted to do 8 years, but the recruiter convinced me just that 6 years would probably be
Okay.
more than enough.
Okay. So when you went in, so rather than going in for 3 years or 4 years.
Yeah, I
and then
wanted to
upping-
kick doors for a long time, so I signed up for 6 years.
Okay, so you're in for 6 years. All right. So you get to the end of that time in Germany. Now, is that getting to? Are we in 2008 now? By then, by the time you finish that, or?
Yeah, early 2008. Then the whole unit deployed. Did the stay in Kuwait to acclimatize,
Mm-hmm.
and end up in northern part of Baghdad. A lot of the unit was in around Sadr City.
And were you with them, or with you in a different
I
neighborhood?
was with them for a little bit, and then with JSS, and I don't even remember all the specific names.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, when you're going over there on that second tour, now that
Mm-hmm.
you're in Baghdad, basically, what is your unit doing? Are you patrolling streets, or are you
yeah.
camping out more in the population?
I guess it depends what it is. Part of the unit was building a wall around Sadr City,
Mhm.
like little wall, probably as tall as these curtains. So just thinking back on that, that's kind of amusing. Because it's also amusing as the year goes by, you see people breaking holes through it and just going in between cracks. It's pretty funny. Doing stuff that all of us would want to do anyway.
Mhm. All right. Now, but what are you doing day to day while you're there?
Let's see, for JSS. I'd probably pull guard for a few hours, all throughout the day,
Mhm.
night. You'd have a rotation. Otherwise, you'd do patrols. Kind of like I guess presence patrols would be an easy way to talk about them.
Okay, so you're
Just to
gonna-
be out there physically seen. So that one was different. On foot during the day, just to be seen. That had I don't know, there's just a million fun, interesting stories. I don't know, how long do we have to say?
However long. Yeah. Hey, I used to say tape is cheap back when I used tape. But yeah, no. I mean, this is this kind of thing people kind of want to know. So what sorts of things stand out in your mind when you think of patrolling out there and things that happen?
Let's see. Might as well. I don't know. A lot of it's just regular dark military humor. I don't know. So I guess sort of keep it kind of mid-range. Probably
Mhm.
one of the funnier ones was we had squad sergeant who was really funny dude. Like, he didn't give a shit, kind of funny, like amusing. I mean, we were there to get the mission done, but I guess wired a little differently. He was interesting dude. One of them, just a regular presence patrol, nearing the end, and found an IED, and he dug it up out of the ground because he didn't want us to wait for EOD. So he's like, he pushed the whole squad forward and have us like, I don't know, however far away, and actually go up, and so his ass was carrying it with 2 hands. Like, it wasn't very big. It was like a small mortar. Would have been enough to blow him apart. But for whatever reason, he dug it up and walked out with it. He got his ass chewed up real good for that one. I remember what all like kind of punishment he got for it, but I remember that we didn't have to stay out there like for however many fucking hours it would take ELD to get there, which sometimes would be.
Okay, so there was a standard operating procedure where if you find an IED, you're supposed to report it and then stand around and wait for specialists to come and disarm it.
Yeah, people with the skills to come and mess around with it and do whatever they need to.
Okay.
But yeah, I guess that's one of those memorable, funny stories.
All right. And so when you're patrolling out there during the day, do the Iraqis just go about their business, or these?
Yeah, I mean, to the degree that you can, you see the presence of America there, because the different kinds of T-walls, the little barriers. You have shorter ones and taller ones, and they'll be used to make defense fortifications and so on all throughout.
And do the civilians just kind of shy away from you, or just ignore you, or?
I guess both. I liked doing presence patrols when they were close and routine, like just to be out in the local community that was closer to the area I was. Used to hand out candy to kids.
Okay.
So I'd have a little group of kids that I would see typically.
And so they'd recognize you at a certain point? Yeah.
And there was a good period where we couldn't do that because one of the platoon leaders got shot in the face when he was handing out candy. I always thought it was nice to have like a bunch of little human shields around me.
Yeah.
So, and that did come into play. That would have been useful because there's a checkpoint that we were operating, and we ended up finding some guys that they were taping our squad walking through a presence patrol, and I don't remember like the exact. Our interpreter was looking through it all, but it was funny because there's all sorts of people in the military, and so. And for our squad, we had one larger dude, and the guys that were taping us were saying to wait and get the big one. So that was pretty funny. Yeah.
So they're taping you. They're making you. They're recording you on video, or?
Yeah, like I guess it was inside of the trunk of a car or something, and they had M16, and they were wanting to ambush, but we ended up being able to catch it. I don't remember. I think they were taping for recon, but they were interrupted. Anyway, we ended up with the tape and the dudes and hand them over to the Iraqi police, and then laugh at each other about not being the big one.
Yeah. All right. Now, would you do things where you would stay off of your base overnight and kind of camp out in the civilian population like you've done before, or are you?
Yeah, a couple things. And I guess you could say it was with extra help from different units or entities. I guess of interest, the largest one was taking over a whole apartment complex.
Okay.
And had some extra different type of help to do that one. But that one was interesting because it went in the middle of the night, and you had to quietly go through the entire apartment complex, opening doors and collecting all the women and all the men and putting the women and kids in one room where they couldn't make a lot of fuss, and the men in the other. And then use the building to conduct what you need to.
Okay. So you weren't necessarily sort of searching the building itself for bad guys or something. You were just going to use that
Yeah.
as a base of operations or something, or
Mm.
vantage point. Okay. Now, and so how long do you spend? Is that a year tour or?
13 months.
Okay. And now over the course of that time, are you still having problems? Are IEDs the main problem? Do people get ambushed, or is there much opposition to you?
It's random. Like, it was definitely really light compared to the first deployment, what
Okay.
was happening in HIT and the guys in Ramadi. But there's still shit happening. So for this, I guess, just a brief out for the second deployment. Like, worried about RPGs, and I guess a unique one was a truck that they built a tilted ramp in the back, a flatbed truck, and it was like concealed, and then they had rockets lined up on the angle of it. It was improvised rocket-assisted mortar setup, where they ended up parking the truck and being able to just shoot the rockets that would go all the way over. But there's all like really close range to a degree. Like, it's kind of ingenious if you think about it. So I'd always think about credit for that. That there's always a lot of thought put into both sides when you're.
Yeah, because they're always trying to find ways to beat
yeah.
you, and you're trying to beat. Okay, so do they successfully launch rockets from that thing?
Yeah.
And then did you find the vehicle later, or what happened?
Um,
Or just figure out that's what they did?
yeah. It was just like a little blip in time, though. I don't remember all of it. I wasn't involved too much with that one.
Okay.
Some of the other, I guess, humorous things is for pulling guard on our JSS. And I don't remember. It was not an infantry unit, but anyway, they were pulling guard, and they ended up getting RPG'd because they fell asleep. And yeah, like the tower is a little guard tower along the T-walls, and yeah, I mean, guard towers were stationed throughout the little tiny JSS, and it was noted that some dude got out of a car, pulled the RPG out of the trunk, and then shot it at the tower.
Okay.
And then, so that was an interesting discussion, because they were supposed to be like awake and
Yeah. If you were
making
awake,
sure we
you
weren't
would
getting
see it.
RPG.
Yeah.
Let's see. I guess just so stories, military experience-wise. I don't know. It was, I mean, it was sucky, but some of it was really nice. Not in any fun kind of way, but like being alive. I mean, when you're so close to not being alive. I suppose like any adrenaline type sport thing.
Okay. All right. So by this time now, were you kind of an established veteran within the unit?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Did you have close calls?
yeah. I guess I'd go back to, yeah, the first firefight back in the HIT was it's probably one of the few stories I would explain, because it was so, there's a lot to it that makes it more interesting of a story, I suppose. Because everything else, it's like little periods of something that's really interesting, but it's still like, always think about the first firefight every single day.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that one is what I'd call it. Like, for me, it was a close call. Other guys, it wasn't. But, even after that first Bradley was hit, I got out to try to help and pull out the guys who were trying to crawl out. And I remember one of our grumpy specialists, since I was the new guy, I was like, "Go over there, Kamps." And so I went over to a tiny mound. I was just looking down the alleyway, and I do remember seeing like a little group of kids running away, like school kids, like nothing of significance, maybe like 100 meters out or something. Because they heard a sound, like a big ass fucking bomb go off, and so like, what is that? But anyway, they ran out, and was like yelling over to my team leader about it, and he was kind of going along with the other specialist, and it didn't lightly. He gets shot. It's just a single AK round, and it popped his Kevlar off, and he was really lucky. And after we got to examine it all, so the medics pulled up just a tiny chunk of metal out of his skull, and the Kevlar squeezed the bullet and the lead out of it, and it's really interesting. Like, wish I would have had a picture of it or something. But yeah, he just ended up with a good little chunk. But so yeah, so throughout that, yeah, moments after he got shot in the head, then we got sprayed with AK fire. Some stuff happened.
Were you able to fire back, or could you not
For that one
see
was
what to shoot at?
relatively short because it was right over my head, and I was facing this direction, and it was coming down from here. But we ended up taking over the house that the fire came, the shots came from, and I guess more humorous stuff. One of the guys from the team ended up stripping butt naked in front of the owner of the house because he was covered in JP8 and it was burning his skins. So he was trying to wash off as best he could. We ended up staying there like all throughout the night because I had to keep watch over until the IEDs came and dragged it away. And also we recovered bodies and stuff. So that was a long night, just staying on the roof and keeping watch.
All right. I take it you didn't catch the guy with the AK.
No.
All right.
I'm sure someone else probably got him.
Yeah, well, he can just disappear into the civilian population quickly enough. All right. Okay. So you didn't have incidents like that on the second tour?
Nothing too significant, no. There's just stuff to respond to. Because yeah, I guess you could say different challenges. Explosively formed projectiles, the EFPs, were kind of I guess an upgrade.
Okay.
For things to worry about. So I guess the MRAPs being pretty good, being able to take a blast from the bottom.
Okay, the MRAPs, and that's the kind of vehicle you're using now?
You would see like at that period, basically looked like a tall truck with a V bottom.
Right.
Which makes sense if you're trying to deflect something.
Yeah.
We got pretty lucky because most of them were pretty much air conditioned, so it was nice in the middle of the summer to be spoiled in that once in a while. But the EFPs, they got really good at being able to time them. And I remember one of them that we responded to, I was helping out, was an engineer unit attached to us. And so for their patrol, they did get, unfortunately, hit. And it split the turret, and it flew off. And it killed the gunner. I do remember that because the turret was way the fuck out there.
Okay. Now you're talking about FP, so formed projectile. I mean, how is that launched, and how is that different from a conventional RPG?
Yeah, it's a whole different system. So interesting how it all ties in. The T-walls, some of them were perfect level to line up at the top of an MRAP, and unfortunately the midline of a gunner. And so different areas, like the design of it was so that explosive would bust metal, I think, like copper.
Okay.
And that would go out at extremely high speeds and heat up to be able to penetrate armor or whatever it is that. But they had EFP at the top of a T-wall, and so when the MRAP was driving past the T-wall in the middle of the night, they had a direct command det on it.
Okay.
Which was like the back and forth whole thing because we were jamming them with warlocks for electronic signal jamming, and so they went backwards a little bit and just would have a direct wire.
Mm-hmm.
So on the response to that one, I had to trace the wire back to the apartment building, like a different one, and there's no one there. They're all gone.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah. Okay, when you're talking about T-walls, are those like the things we see in like highway construction
Yeah.
projects where you've got these concrete barriers with a wider base and then
Mhm.
an narrower top going up?
Upside down T.
Yeah, and then these just vary in terms of how tall they are and what they protect. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right, kind of what other kinds of experiences do you have while you're out on that tour?
Funny ones.
Okay.
I mean, to me, they're funny. Um, let's see. um,
Are you sorting out which one you can actually tell?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I guess in relation to kind of what I do nowadays, one of my buddies in the squad, while we weren't doing anything, we were just sitting around in between missions, in between pulling guard and doing PT and stuff. Oh, that's what I like. Was able to have a little gym there, and we lifted weights, so that was like our PT stuff, other than walking around for hours and hours and whatever. But I was dicking around, and we were just messing around and chucking stuff at each other, and his mom sent him Korean ramen, which is like a larger, stiffer packaging than what top ramen is.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were chucking them at each other like throwing stars, and I hit him in the eye and scratched his eye. And sometimes I use that as a story, an example of why you need to wear eye protection.
There you go. All right. Now, what kind of facility or base were you living on at that time? How big was it relative to what you had before? What's there?
Pretty small. Like these combat housing, like tiny trailers.
Okay.
With T-walls in between them. So it's just weird, like a little hut system, and then that had to cover over it relatively, try to diffuse stuff that might hit it.
Mm-hmm. So would this house a company size unit or a battalion?
I think it was like platoon.
What, platoon size? Okay.
Maybe it was. I don't even remember.
Okay.
It was small.
Okay.
1 squad, 2 squad.
And so was your battalion kind of divided into a bunch of these things
Yeah,
around the city?
Everyone's, there's different missions.
In terms of big picture, when we talk about the sort of the war in Iraq or our presence there in Iraq in that period, there's a phase that gets the label of being the surge, where larger numbers of people are out there in the community. Were you part of that, or do you not even know when that was?
Towards the first deployment, I believe, caught the beginning of the surge.
Mm-hmm.
For I don't know.
By the time
It was
you get-
always hot and hit. Like there's always shit. So I guess I don't know. Hit. They just made tons of IEDs that they sent over to everywhere else. So they used a lot of IEDs and hit against us, and then like the sister town just down the street was like Ramadi. They sent a lot of IEDs.
Yeah. Okay. But that's really not that kind of larger picture stuff. Isn't really what you're worrying about.
No,
You're just worrying about getting by one day to the next.
Yeah, just a knuckle dragger.
Okay. What over the course of the year in Iraq, about what kind of losses did your company take or your platoon take while you were there?
I don't remember the exact numbers. It was a lot. Like the unit we were attached to had a lot. The only thing, well, not the only thing. One thing I remember is the unit reflagged, 1-6 reflagged when I went to Fort Bliss and was stationed there, and the data they had was bad for the KIA list because they made really beautiful plaques, memorial plaques that they wanted to line the wall with in the battalion, and they had the dates off by weeks.
Okay.
And I remember specifically because I was there when they did, like, some stuff happened, I guess, and it was kind of disappointing to see that.
Yeah, well, that's part of why we do interviews.
Yeah.
The official versions of things are not always exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Okay. So was the kind of thing where you'd have, you know, somebody killed here, a couple wounded there, and just periodically over the course of the year? Or did you have particular phases of that year that were more dangerous than others?
I wouldn't speak to when I wasn't there, but it was, I mean, it just kept going.
Okay.
Probably
Are you remembering bad things? Because you don't need to talk about things you don't want to talk about. Okay. Well, put it a different way. Were you feeling any safer or more secure at the end of the tour than you did at the beginning? Or was it always pretty much the same?
it was the same. I guess dark humor wise, when they told us that we were leaving, along with like the typical mortars, they did end up giving us, or we got hit by one mortar that was very unique that hit our packed up conics that had our munitions that we weren't going to be using explosive wise, and so it was blowing up and setting on fire, and
good.
it was this huge. It was just really cool looking. I was seeing a huge shipping container on fire with coming out like I guess like a dragon mouth. Sure, it's like cost millions and millions of dollars.
All right, but that's your fireworks to celebrate leaving.
Yeah, to a degree. Definitely couldn't stay much longer because of that.
Now, when you go in and out of these places, and the Americans are still staying there, I mean, do you have a changeover between your unit and somebody else?
Oh, yeah. If there was. I don't even remember what the hell for the first one. I don't know what they did.
Well, when you went in the first time, you were joining a unit already in place. But the second time, though, you go in with your unit together. Were you replacing somebody else, or were you setting up a new position?
Yeah, I
don't have to remember who they were, but
I think it might have been 4th ID or something.
Okay.
I don't know the exact units and stuff.
Yeah, but when you do the changeover, do they take any time to get you guys oriented, or did someone else do that before you got there? So are you meeting the guys in the other unit, or are they?
Yeah, it's pretty brief time though. I don't even remember, maybe like a week. I know that the advance party with the leaders and such would have longer time.
Okay. All right. Now you're with your with your unit here, you know, several years in a row. Was there a lot of turnover in the personnel, or are you with the same people pretty much for that first couple of years?
Relatively the same people. I mean, some people have finished their deployment or finished their service enlistment, and so during that garrison year, in between deployments, they left out to go in the civilian world. But then, yeah. So when you're all deployed together, pretty much I'll just stay in the game until you get back, and then some people will.
Okay. So now, and then once that Are there other things that happened in that year that you want to bring into the story, that second tour in Iraq?
Mm. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff. Excitement-wise, it was a lot less eventful.
Okay.
But so to that degree is that's why would say that is there's some stuff that was more fun or memorable. You still had the same worry about catching enemy bullets or an explosive of some form, but I got to see the population actually talk with people, sit in their houses and drink chai, drink tea.
Okay. So on some level, they are starting to see you as people?
Yeah, like, and then, so the second deployment, I guess also because Baghdad's a huge city and you have various levels of wealth just like you do in any city. So you could definitely tell when you're walking through the slums because there's literal creeks of shit. And their houses are terrible if they are a house. Sometimes it'd be like a blown out factory. And then they have curtains or something.
Yeah. And then did you encounter some more educated people or people who could speak English?
It was very impressive, and that's where I ended up having a lot of respect for people in general, where you, I guess some of it's growing up, but some of it's also having a intelligent conversation or interaction with people, and some of it's really sad then.
Was there, at the time you were there, did there seem to be a kind of functioning economy or daily life, or shops open and people moving on?
Yeah, because that was 08, 09, and it seemed to be doing pretty good, I guess, in relation. Yeah.
Now, you mentioned, so Sadr City was a neighborhood where there was a lot of Shiite militias based and other things like that. Did you patrol in there, or did other units do that?
I don't have anything to say.
Okay. All right. So you finish your year, that second tour in Iraq. You come back to Germany again. And so when do you get back to Germany?
Oh, that was nice to get back to Germany.
Was that now in 2009? Or?
Yeah, 2000.
Okay. And once back there, do you start cycling again, or are you going to rotate to the States, or what happens?
Yeah, they did start cycling then, and they shortly ended up reflagging. I don't know, I was there for maybe like 6 months, and then myself and another guy that I had been in the unit with for a long time, we both ended up getting stationed in Fort Bliss. Yeah, because those guys ended up that were still back in Germany. After 1/6 left, and they reflagged to a different unit.
When you're talking about reflagging, you keep essentially.
They became a different unit. Yeah.
So you have the same personnel and equipment pretty much, but now they are they have a different label on them.
Yeah, like if you're doing a change of company name or doing business as.
Yeah, the Army did a lot of that
stuff.
Okay. All right. So, but you go back. So was the that next stint in Germany, was that pretty much like the first one, or?
Yeah, because I was there for a handful of months.
Yeah.
And I knew I would be going somewhere else.
Okay.
I don't even remember if we did field exercise. We probably did, or something. But I just knew I wouldn't have to do the following year's rotation.
Right.
They ended up doing Afghanistan.
Okay. All right. But you get sent. You're going to go to Fort Bliss. And where is Fort Bliss?
That's in El Paso, Texas.
El Paso, Texas. Okay. Now, do you get to go home when you on your way back over there? Or?
Yeah. Most of my leaves, I went back to Grand Rapids. For that one, actually got. Let's see. Got married during the second deployment when I was home on leave. My wife and I. She did not come to Germany during the last handful of months not for to live, but she came to visit after deployment. But then I took leave back to Michigan, and then we went together and got off-base family housing or Fort Bliss,
Okay.
and that was an interesting time and probably just dragged out a lot of the fun for me because it was a non-deployable unit that was testing modernization stuff, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
So we went to the field a lot, like on and off every month or something. So it was nice because you didn't have to worry about, combat, actual.
People trying to kill you.
So you're just doing regular Army stuff and sucking at life to that degree.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, and was I guess it was before we kind of get into the Fort Bliss side of things. So you had leave. You were able to leave while you were in Iraq. You were actually at some point able to leave and go home.
Yeah, for at least, from what I understand on the Army side, because they had such long deployments
Mhm.
that they would send people out on R&R leave at various points. So you get a couple weeks essentially to take vacation wherever you're authorized to be able to.
Okay.
So most people went back home.
Do you get one R&R during a year's deployment, or do they give you two?
You get one.
Okay.
Yeah, because like other branches will do just shorter deployments, maybe 6 months, and so.
Yeah. Okay. But you actually managed to do that. I don't know. So when you take that R&R, you leave Iraq and you go back home. I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird. I guess for that one, because it was the second deployment, like you didn't sweat about dying every day.
Mhm.
It still sucked because it was just a huge change from like the daily activity of
Yeah.
putting on 100 pounds of equipment and
Mhm.
then being able to just go and eat hamburgers whenever I want. So.
Mhm. Yeah. So sort of different. So was it hard to go back at the end of that R&R?
I just like any vacation.
It's just over. Okay. All right. So you've gone down to Fort Bliss. All right. And are you testing infantry weapons or artillery or?
I don't really remember what the whole setup was called, but there's a lot more electronic stuff, like the
Mhm.
whole networking of the battlefield.
Okay.
There was, which I know that they do just tons and tons of it. Like that's part of what happens now.
Yeah.
But we were, testing. I don't know what the civilian companies that were supplying it, but they had people from the civilian side who would come and support the equipment that would attach to whatever it is. Like if we're using drones or sensors,
Yeah.
and recon stuff. And then for me, it was kind of fun because part of the time, sitting around with the recon teams and sniper team, being able to do the opposing force, pretend to be the bad guy. That's probably where I had the most fun, because then you like see the fellow American unit trying to operate as they're supposed to during an exercise, and then I could be creative and figure out how to stop them. But I guess that was good because then they were able to utilize, test the equipment that was supposed to help win.
Did you have the sense that it would have been nice to have any of that equipment when you were in Iraq?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's nowadays the fastest translation I would say is if you could use, which you can't, like being able to use a drone and a field camera for deer hunting, or like any kind of modern day equipment, security camera or something. So people know, like you can ask most hunters and they'll probably have a field cam out there, so they know at least what kind of buck they're trying to look for, because the guy's been on their property. So like having that kind of stuff would have been nice on the first deployment. And then there's like for the translation of it was similar type of equipment that we were testing along with a few other things.
Yeah. Well, given what's gone on in the current conflict in Ukraine, I mean, the drones have taken over a very large chunk of that, and a lot of conventional warfare is no longer particularly safe. I mean, even tanks and things like that are getting vulnerable. So, that's all happening, and that technology is all developing and evolving in that period. So you're kind of. So, how long do you spend at Fort Bliss?
That was a regular Army rotation, so 3 years, and then my 6 years was up
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then at that point, did you agree with them that 6 years was probably enough? Or did you want to go back and re-up?
I would say it was enough. My wife definitely was happy to no longer do Army life because she's from northern Michigan and
Mhm.
still being stationed in El Paso
Yeah.
where it's very dry and you have sandstorms and
Mhm.
is yeah. So we decided to go back to civilian life.
Okay. And once you went back to civilian life, I mean, what did you wind up doing?
I don't know, nowadays. So went to Grand Valley. Ended up after my 4 years with a degree for occupational safety and health management. So pretty much do some form of safety or something
Okay.
within the realm. And I guess just to brief it up, a couple of years doing insurance, loss control, and then 4 years safety work at the local zoo here. And then the 3.5 years of where I'm at currently, which is just a electronics manufacturer
Okay.
doing safety stuff.
All right.
And to me, yeah.
Okay. So if you look back over the time that you spent in the service, so how do you think that affected you, or what did you learn from it?
I'd say it was good overall for me as a person. Appreciation of life and of what someone needs to be able to do to either accomplish something, but importantly to be just a productive human in a civilized world.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you have any issues transitioning to civilian life, or did living at Fort Bliss with kind of a regular job serve as that transition?
I like to think that the 3 years in Fort Bliss definitely helped. At least you didn't have like the. Yeah, I guess did help with some transition stuff.
Because you still have a sort of structured military life. You're not just going immediately from a combat zone to just being tossed back into the civilian
Yeah.
world.
Yeah, I suppose like versus. I couldn't imagine being reserve or National Guard and then weeks later being stuck back at your old job around people who have no idea. That would have been really hard. Yeah. So.
All right. Okay. And now that we're kind of getting here to the end, if you think back again, are there other stories or experiences or things that you're now remembering or whatever that you can add to the record? Again, we're just looking for different examples of what life was like for you over there.
It's just if we're just recording as far as trying to understand what military life.
Yeah.
One of the bigger things I got out of it was being able to see and then have hands-on and experience various types of leadership. And it's probably one of the biggest things is if people reflect on it, or especially if they understand that's what a lot of what they're doing is discipline and leadership of some degree. So I wish the civilian world would do a lot more of. So yeah, some of the best leaders I've been around have been in the Army, and I know that like all the branches have great leadership in various areas as well, but.
And were these the sergeants or the platoon leaders or company commanders?
Usually, yeah, non-commissioned officers, sergeants.
Okay.
Because that's what I interact with most as far as like a chain of command type setup. And
All right. And by the end of your tour, you're a sergeant. So when you're out there doing the exercises and stuff at Fort Bliss, are you now leading a team, or?
Yeah, I was the sniper section leader, so I had 3 other teams with sergeants and their junior snipers essentially, and just doing garrison stuff.
Did you think of other notable things that happened during any of your time in Iraq that you want to bring into the story or add?
I guess I'd want to put for note, and it's impactful not just for me, but like for the other guys. So I talked about the first firefight, just because it's super memorable. It's a complex ambush. But then something that definitely is impactful was one of the guys, Evan Bixler, went through basic from start to finish, and then Germany, and then when we did get hit and they separated our group of 12, so they sent a small handful over to 135. He went with them, and then I stayed with the other little group there at the train station, and I don't remember what their tempo was because I never saw them after that. But I ended up being, we were smoking cigarettes like in the afternoon, the day before Christmas of that fall, like a couple months later, and you hear explosions and mortars every day because how busy everything was. But that one was shortly after you heard the call up that they had some people get killed. And so for him, he died from guard duty with a mortar landing directly on him. And so my oldest son got his namesake. And it was nice. I was able to visit his family, his parents afterwards. It was also, I guess, like impactful as far as like any other military stuff is, because they were still picking up his remains. So I went with another group of his remains, and was able to put some keepsakes down in for him.
Just a reminder on some level what a rotten business war can be, because you can lose your friends and all of that, but you can do at least something for him there in the end. All right. Anything else you want to add to the record before we close things out here?
It was definitely worth it, and I'd do it all again.
Okay.
I probably would have done it sooner and would have stayed in it a little bit longer. But
all right. Well, you got a distinctive story here. You made me work a little bit, but we got, I think, some good material, and people following this will learn some things about what it was to be doing what you were doing and how the whole system worked. So I'd just like to thank you for coming in and sharing a story today.
Thanks, James.